Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Judy. I am the program coordinator for the Atlanta Business League. We would like to apologize for the technical issues that it appears that we just had, but we will get started. Commissioner Johnson, if you want to begin, just introduce yourself and begin your presentation.
Okay. Good morning, Atlanta Business League. I'm glad to be a part of this call and thank you for this timely topic around COVID-19 and being business ready. I want to just say thank you to the President, Leona Barr Davenport, for inviting me, and also your incoming President-elect and your President now as well. I just want to start off with just talking about how your business health is tied to your mental health. As we go through this crisis, unforeseen novel virus, it's very important that you, first of all, take care of yourself. And I've talked about from a mental health standpoint on how businesses are dealing with this downturn. You go from denial to bargaining to sadness to acceptance. And as you go through this process, I want to make sure as a county commissioner and how you're the bedrock for us in our society, that you take care of yourself. And I think that's first and foremost on my mind as we start this discussion moving forward. The other part is when I get ready to talk about some of the funding in DeKalb, I want to make sure I remind you that one of the things that we need to continue to talk about is our census, because the money that I'm about to mention that many counties are using comes from the Community Development Block Grant, as well as based on your population. And so the census has been extended to October 31st. It's only 10 minutes, 10 questions. Please, please, please tell your employees, your neighbors to fill this out, because as we look at hospital infrastructure, disease transmission, unemployment benefits, everything is tied to the population and your formulas by the census. The other part is, of course, I got to mention the absentee ballot application. Secure your vote, because voting is power and economic power. It happens this way. So please make sure you tell folks in your community we're doing a lot of absentee ballot and application, and that's key for you to get your ballot, but you have to fill this out and send it in to get your actual ballot. So please take advantage of these two key issues that we have in front of us as we deal with this novel virus around COVID-19. The first program I want to mention that DeKalb County is currently doing is our DeKalb County Small Business Loan Program. It's up to $35,000. You can apply for that program right now as a DeKalb County business in our area, and it's available. Please take advantage of it. You can pay it back over 7 to 10 years. It deals with basically a minimum credit score about 560, and it has non-traditional collateral accepted from sole proprietorships, partnerships, subchapter S corporations. All of those things are available for you right now. The other part is that DeKalb County does not do our own economic development. We have a partnership with what we call Decide DeKalb, and we've joined with them to help us with business incentives and to be a part of what we're doing. And so those are two key projects I want to make sure that you know and that you understand that are going on in DeKalb. The last program, or next to last, is dealing with what we have that we're working on right now for the future. We're about to increase our small business loan program. We're now waiting on HUD to give us our criteria. We have the money in hand, but we don't move until we have a HUD letter that states what we can do. And part of our proposal is to increase small business loans as part of this $4.7 million that DeKalb County has received. And we want to give it to our small business people because we believe that you all are the bedrock. You hire and you make a difference in DeKalb, and want to make sure those opportunities are available for you as well. We also want to talk to folks who are about to go into business. I think is very key. We have a micro enterprise training program that is free. You just have to buy your supplies that we have partnered with the Urban League of Atlanta. Please, please, please take advantage of those programs and making sure that you can avail yourself, because they will make a difference in your community and make things happen as well. Those are a couple of programs that I wanted to mention that we have in DeKalb, and I look forward to us having another small business increase coming soon, and that we will keep you available, keep you abreast of. And it's all these resources are available in the chat room that's available to you that we have. Now we'll turn over the next part of the program to the dynamic Terry Dennison, who's no stranger to us in our region. She's done great work, and she's going to take us from this breakout to a breakthrough. So I turn it over to Ms. Terry Dennison, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. I'm going to focus, of course, I'm with the U.S. Small Business Administration, and I'm going to focus on our two main programs focusing on assisting small businesses being affected by COVID-19 and the public policy around it. The first one, of course, is the one I think everyone is talking about, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. Basically, it's a loan up to $10 million to cover primarily payroll expenses and to allow the owner to keep their employees on or bring them back if they have been let go for at least an 8-week period following the initial disbursement of the loan. Can also be used to cover some non-employee expenses such as rent for your location, the interest payments on a mortgage if you're purchasing the building in which your business is housed, and utilities. This loan is a loan that is made by participating private lenders that are currently SBA participating lenders or other lending institutions that have been approved to deliver the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP as we call it. Of course, there's been a lot of angst about the fact that we have had money run out. It did back on April 16th from the initial round of funding for this program, and those monies have been replenished through a second round of funding and became available. The program became available again on yesterday morning. You probably have heard in the media it got off to a rocky start just because of the sheer volume of applications that were waiting and going through the system. One of the other things about the program, a lot of concern about did some of the smaller lenders get to participate, and hence small businesses such as your micro enterprises, were they able to take advantage of the program? So there have been some changes with regards to the second round of funding. First of all, there was $310 billion set aside for the second round. But in addition to that, there was $60 billion for loans to be made by small and medium-sized lending institutions. Small are those lending institutions with a total asset base of less than 10 million, medium between 10 million and 50 million. The idea is that this would help to distribute maybe those funds a little better and allow more different types of small businesses to take advantage of it in the second round. Also, the agency, that SBA and Treasury were co-implementing this program, have put some things in place in terms of the maximum percentage of loans that can be made by any one particular lending institution, so that the fintechs and the larger lending institutions do not necessarily eat up all the funding for that program. So that's what's going there. Also, there's been other guidance implemented. I don't want to forget this. Of course, a lot of the businesses are sole proprietors, or maybe they are partnerships, sole member LLCs, and there were questions about how they could participate since a large portion of the loan deals with payroll. There has been guidance written to assist sole proprietors, partners, and LLCs, especially those with single members, on how they can calculate the loan amount. The other thing, of course, and what makes this loan so attractive, one, is that it could be forgiven if at least 75% of the funds from the loan is used for payroll and related expenses. And that information, and they're constantly updated, can be found on, I would go to the treasury.gov/CARES website, because they are constantly updating the information there. The other thing I'm going to touch on is the economic injury disaster loans. This is not a new program because of the CARES Act. We've had economic injury disaster loans for decades, and this particular program was used as the initial program to try to address some of the economic distress that small businesses were feeling. These loans are directly from the SBA. They can be for up to $2 million. Of course, small businesses, nonprofits can partake in this. The use of the proceeds are very similar to the PPP, fixed in addition to payroll and related benefits, fixed debt, accounts payable, and other expenses that are business driven that cannot be paid because of the current situation. The terms on this loan is up to 30 years, no prepayment penalty, and there's an automatic 12-month deferment. And the interest on that is 3.75% for small business owners. Under the CARES Act, there was the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Advance, or in the legislation it was referred to as a grant, but it's the same thing, the EIDL Advance. Basically, this allowed for an up to $10,000 advance to be made to give give borrowers a more immediate, I'll put it that way, more immediate access to capital as they're waiting for the EIDL to be processed. There's been a lot of confusion about this portion of the CARES Act. I think a lot of people have characterized it initially as it was a flat $10,000 grant. That is not the case. Essentially, it is being calculated up to $10,000 based on the number of quote-unquote disaster employees that you had. The statute always indicated that this was an up to figure and not a flat figure. The one thing about it is this particular advance does not have to be repaid, even if the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, is subsequently declined. One thing, both for the EIDL and the advances, as well as PPP, that's a little different, is that faith-based and religious organizations are eligible if they're otherwise meet the criteria for the respective programs, are eligible to participate for this purpose of addressing COVID-19 negative economic impact. Traditionally, they have not been eligible for SBA programs and assistance, but in this context, they are eligible, and there is guidance on that, once again, at treasury.gov/CARES. You can also go to our website, sba.gov/disaster. Now, the economic injury loans and the advances were put on hold as well because funds ran out to support that program at the same time as the initial round of PPP funding. We expect the portal to be open again and to take applications in the next 28 to 48 hours. Because additional funds were provided for those two things, as well as for another round of PPP. And that's basically the update that I have, and I look forward to your specific question.
Thank you so much, Terry and Commissioner Johnson. Can you all hear me? Terry, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thank you. We had technical difficulties a little earlier. So now we'll move to our questions and answers. So Samantha, Judy, are you there?
I am, yes.
Okay, would you begin asking our questions?
Yes. Our first question, and this is to the commissioner. Can you provide a website for people to apply for the DeKalb County Small Business Loan Program?
Yes, the website is it's a long one. I'm gonna give you the phone number, the contact person first. Barry Williams, 404-371-3217. And his email address is bb, as in boy, Williams at DeKalbCountyGA.gov, BB Williams at DeKalbCountyGA.gov. And you can go to loans at aceloans.org, loans at aceloans.org. And so those are the numbers you can use to get that. I'm sorry I didn't say that right, but let me say it again, loans at aceloans.org. And that's the information. You get your application.
Can you provide that phone number one more time?
404-371-3217. That's Mr. Barry Williams.
Commissioner, by chance, is that information in the brochure that's in the chat room?
Yes,
okay,
it's in
wonderful.
the brochure. All of that's located in the chat room under your part of the resources as well.
Thank you very much. Samantha?
Okay. Our next question. Is there a listing of any banks currently taking new applications and reviewing for approval? One particular bank mentioned they have over 60,000 applications pending review from the original announcement and applications received. I believe that's a question for you, Terry.
Okay, so the question is there a list of participating lending institutions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can go to our website, SBA.gov, I think it'd be /disaster. And there is a link for lenders that are participating, basically lenders that have done at least one PPP, Paycheck Protection Program loan.
Okay. All right. What is the status of the PPP and EIDL applications from April 3rd to April 10th? A lot of those applications still have not been funded. Will they be funded in this round?
I'll start with the EIDL and the advances first. They are continuing to work the applications on a first come, first served basis, first in, first out basis. So they, of course, ended up getting quite a few applications, probably more than anyone, even though you tried to imagine more than you could envision. So I know they are trying to work through those applications. They probably could work them to the point that they were just short of an approval, but could not complete the process because the funds had been exhausted. As I said, there was additional funds provided for EIDL and the EIDL Advances, and those should come online in the next 24 to 48 hours. In terms of the PPP, unfortunately, what our role is to guarantee those loans. The lender is making and funding the primary loan, so you would have to contact your lender, and the lender could in turn, if it's with SBA being processed, the guarantee, then they can have that conversation and try to ascertain the status. Unfortunately, at the local level, we do not participate in the processing or have access to the status.
Okay.
Can I add to that as well?
Absolutely.
Tonight, I'll be having on my Touch Point program. I do a Facebook Live at 7:30 every Tuesday, and we will have the president, probably the first African-American president for Truist Bank, Ron Austin, will be on there live with me. And so if people want to tune in, and ask questions, I'll have LaShawn provide that information in the chat room resource for you. And it's an opportunity for you to ask questions of a bank president of our Atlanta region tonight.
Wonderful. All right, next question. It appears there is $60 billion set aside for minority-owned businesses. This person's application is pending with a lender, but how would the lender identify that their firm is minority-owned, as there was no question asking that when they applied?
Okay, the $60 billion set aside is not necessarily based on, or not necessarily set aside for a minority-owned business. It's set aside for smaller lender institutions, and I guess the thinking is there is more of a correlation in terms of minority-owned businesses, inner-city businesses, rural businesses, having relationships and going to those particular group of lenders to get assistance. When you, in terms of tracking, I'm not sure how they're tracking race or gender. I'd have to go back and look at the application because I don't remember if that is one of the questions asked.
Okay. If you applied during the first round and have not been, and have been contacted by your bank and you provide additional paperwork, what should you do other than wait?
You've already submitted all the information that's been requested of the lender. There really isn't anything else but to wait for the lender, maybe check in with the lender to see where it is in the process. Have they completed the process? Has it been sent to the SBA processing center to process the guarantee for the loan?
Okay. Are you eligible for payroll, the PPP, if you only have one employee?
Yes, you are. And as I mentioned, there is new guidance on treasury.gov/CARES, specifically on how to calculate your loan amount or maximum loan amount for PPP if you are sole proprietor, a partner, or a single member LLC.
Okay. This person has applied for the EIDL on March 19th and had to reapply on April 8th. They have not heard anything other than their application has been received. I've also not received any advances as of yet. What can they do at this point?
I'll suggest this, because officially there's the customer service email box for disaster assistance. There's also the toll-free customer service number. One thing we've been trying to do, and we've had some success with it, is if people are trying to get a status, if they could email us at Georgia, spelled out Georgia, at sba.gov, provide your loan number, approximate date that you apply, which in this case is April 8th, the name of your company. We will try to check with ODA, Office of Disaster Assistance, and obtain a status. Like I said, we've been successful in some cases, in some cases we have not. Given that it was April 8th, you're probably looking at another week or two, just because of that break when the funding ran out, and they are going to be upping the process in the next 24 to 48 hours. So that you have to factor that in as well as to why you haven't heard back yet.
Okay. What is the formula used to determine the EIDL loan amount for a company?
There isn't an exact, unlike PPP, there is not an exact figure on the loan itself. Of course, with the advances, as I mentioned, the agency's been using, $1,000 for each employee pre-disaster, up to the 10. On the loan itself, you probably could just estimate based on your payroll, your employee costs, also your operating costs, particularly your fixed costs that you have, regardless of whether you're generating income or not. So what costs you would have to cover, and you estimate roughly what that time frame would be. So there's, unlike PPP, there's a little more flexibility on proposing an amount. And that I always encourage people to do that, even though I don't believe there's anything in the application saying how much are you asking for. In the comments box, I would indicate, what you feel you need and why.
All right. You touched on this before, but if you wouldn't mind going over it again. This person asks, how do you follow up on the EIDL Advance? I applied first week in April and haven't heard anything. I have another business owner who applied after me and was funded days later. I emailed the SBA as Ms. Dennison advised last time and still nothing. Please advise.
Okay. I know that we have several emails or several businesses that we're still trying to get a status for on their application. So if they want to send another email, we are monitoring the box. We'll make a note of that. But I know there's several that we're still waiting to try to get a status for those applicants.
Okay. This person states they're at the Treasury website. There is now a way that I can apply online. Where can I send my application once it's filled out?
Are we talking PPP, or are we, talking EIDL? PPP, you would go to it wouldn't be on the Treasury website. You would actually apply with the lender. Many of the lending institutions have taken the SBA application and built an electronic application into their website. Others are still accepting paper. So that's how you would do PPP. EIDL, you would go to the sba.gov/disaster website, which is currently not taking applications, but will be in the next 28 to 48 hours.
Okay. All right. Are real estate investors eligible for EIDL, and what documents are required for real estate investors if they do apply?
That one I would probably need to do a little more research on, because generally with the regular SBA programs, they would not be eligible because it's passive income. If that person can shoot us an email at georgia@sba.gov and just note that is from today's call about the investment question, I can look that one up.
Okay. All right. Are there any educational training opportunities for small business? I missed a meeting last week that mentioned training in supply chain management. Was it recorded, and is that information accessible? We can include that. I guess more directly a question for you, Terry. Is the approval for the PPP loan determined by the bank or the SBA?
There's a couple things going on with PPP. The initial application where the borrower submits it to the lender, of course, the lender would be the one to make the initial approval. When they send the application to SBA, the lender is actually seeking approval of the guarantee on the application. Under the PPP, those loans are 100% guaranteed by SBA, which is a very unusual situation. And basically that's if, for whatever unforgiven part of the loan that would have to be repaid if there's a default, they can submit a claim to SBA to be made whole. So it's really two approvals: the initial approval by the lender of the borrower's application, and then SBA approving the lender's application for a guarantee for the loan.
Mm-hmm. Is it possible to submit in an application now? The website was not allowing access.
As I have not checked it this morning, I don't think it is. Like I said, we do expect the portal to open back up in the next probably 24 to 48 hours because additional funds for EIDL and the advances have been provided.
Okay, another question for you, Terry. This person asked to you, Terry, may we email you if we have questions? I did receive an advance, but I may have questions. Regarding the advance, it arrived in my business bank account. It was about a week before I noticed it.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that means you didn't get a notice that it was forthcoming. If you have additional questions, yes, you can send us an email, the georgia@sba.gov. And I've been monitoring that as well as a couple other of our staff members. So you can do that.
Okay, this person says Truist does not accept the PPP application, although they bank with them. They contacted 6 other banks and none of them would accept an application if you did not bank with them. How would you advise them?
Oh, wow. That is a tough one. I would say you could go to our website at sba.gov/disaster, and there is a link, as I mentioned, for lending institutions that have made the loans. Unfortunately, it doesn't, there's nothing to indicate whether they accept them or not, new customers. One other thing we're trying to do is kind of have an in-house sense of who is open to making these loans to other than their current customers. So if you would shoot us an email and say we're seeking lenders that participate and are open to new customers, we can try and help you with that.
Okay. Last question here. I submitted an application for the EIDL and have not heard back. I received an email about an opportunity for an advance for up to $10K. Do I need to apply again?
If you apply for the EIDL, I would say before March 29th, then yes. If you received a loan number and it starts with a 2 as opposed to 33, that would mean that you applied at a time when the grant was not available or the advance was not available. So if you want the advance, you would need to reapply.
Okay, wonderful. I just want to make an announcement to everyone. All of the email addresses and the phone number for Mr. Williams, it has all been entered into the chat, along with the resource guide. And Leona, that concludes the question and answer portion.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to respond to one of the other questions. There are a few entities that are still accepting applications, and I don't have all of the email addresses or the websites in front of me. But when we send the survey out to you, we will also send those links for the entities that are still accepting PPP applications. There, we have about 5 of them. One is a bank. Citizens Trust Bank is still accepting applications, and ACE Loans is accepting applications, and we have some others. And it will be easier for me to go ahead and just compile those, and we will send those out to you so that you will know those that are accepting. And you can get a head start if you've not already done it to pull that application and begin compiling the information that you need that they will ask for. And without a doubt, they will ask for it. So get a head start if you've not already done that. Again, we want to apologize for our technical difficulties at the beginning of the session. It appears that we may not have been able to hear me at all, the opening, and also Commissioner Johnson. I'm not sure if you were able to hear all that he had to say, but if we were able to capture that on the back end with sound, we will send that video to you so that you will be able to listen to it, go back and pull it up. And also someone asked about last week's session. That session was also videotaped, and it was sent in the survey that was sent to you. So you can reference that survey, answer the survey, and click on the link to listen to and to get the answers that you may have missed last week. Again, thank you so much, Terry Dennison with SBA and Commissioner Larry Johnson. Thank you for your time this morning. Commissioner Johnson, would you repeat the time this evening that your live talk will be?
It'll be touch point at 7:30 p.m. on Facebook Live. Go to Larry Johnson, Commissioner Larry Johnson Facebook, and please join in. It's a great event and you can connect.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining. This is the ABL Weekly COVID-19 Issues and Opportunities series. We look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you very much.